Woods.
Thank you. Good evening. Dara Woods, Project Manager for the Beachfront Improvement Feasibility Study. Thank you all for coming tonight. Some of you might know me, some of you might not. Again, welcome. This is our second focus community meeting, and we're focusing on cultural, community, and special events as they relate to the facilities, the Junior Seau Beach Community Center, the amphitheater and bandshell, and the plaza. Some of you might have already seen a similar presentation to 2 weeks ago. And if you do, it will be a brief recap for those who haven't. We have a brief presentation we'd like to give you about the study, followed by some topics that we'd like to bring up for discussion purposes. Last time we did not have the request to speak. So if you would like to, if you wouldn't mind filling that out and giving it to Zeb and Shane, so we can make sure those that are in person can give their comments. And then we have some on Zoom that we'd like to get their comments as well. And for those of you that are new, that are not familiar, just a real quick recap. The phase 2 of the Beachfront Improvement Feasibility Study is looking at potential improvements to the Junior Seau Beach Community Center, Junior Seau Beach Amphitheater, and bandshell and the Pier Plaza in between. We are still in our public outreach phase of this study. It is just a study. And we are looking at the existing site conditions as well as looking at opportunities and some constraints that are on the site and wanting to get public input. And again, on a focus meeting tonight. With that, I'm going to defer to the city's consultant, Steve Johnson, to give our presentation, which we'd follow up with public comments. So thank you all again for coming.
Hello, everyone. It's great to see all of you again, or some of you for the first time. I'm Steve Johnson with Johnson Favreau. We're the consultant tasked with working with you to complete this study with you. Going to give you a brief, just a brief introduction. This phase is really about introducing the project to the community and to everyone. So as Dara mentioned, some of the presentation that you're going to see, if you've been to other meetings, you will recognize it, but it's a way of just introducing to those who haven't a little bit about the study. But a focus of tonight's beyond that introduction is really to basically get into a focused discussion about the programming, because programming is what drives planning. What are the activities that go on here, and really have a conversation with you about the important special events and community programming that takes place at this facility, at these facilities, and really to hear from you about what works and what does not work. And one thing I do want to note from the beginning, you're not going to see staff up here with me, because the reason for that is we have been meeting with staff, but this is your opportunity to really say very directly to me, being the experts that you are about your own facilities that serve you. It's really the best way to communicate to me quite directly what you know and want me to know. And that's really the purpose of tonight's meeting. It's really for me to hear from you about these facilities and how the programs are serving you, or how those potentially can be improved. So again, just an overview for those not familiar at this point of the actual study site. You're seeing an aerial view looking from the southwest, with North Pacific cutting across the page on the east side of the study site. Betty's Lot forming the southern boundary, the Junior Seau Beachfront Community Center forming the northern boundary of the site, with the Strand forming obviously the western boundary of the site, and the Junior Seau Amphitheater and bandshell sitting kind of right in the middle of the site, as you well know. The reason for the study, both of these incredibly important facilities have been here a long time. That's why they're so important to you. They're embedded in your history and memory, but facilities do age. And all communities that have facilities that age are faced with decisions about how to improve them. It's just a fact that utilities, other things degrade over time, and you want to be thoughtful about how you engage in the restoration and the bringing forward of those facilities. And an important component of that is when you do engage in the state of California in repairing facilities, there is an obligation to essentially bring them up to current code. in key areas like disabled access, for example. Certainly fire life safety. The codes have changed as compared to 1955 when the facility was built. And also things like structural and certainly sustainability, kind of how the buildings are energy efficient or not. So the state does want, when you invest money in these facilities, that you're actually bringing them up to code. And that's something that we are going to be talking with you about as we look at restoring these facilities. But the more important thing, which is the focus of tonight's meeting, is the opportunity there is to enhance the programming. Because that's really, in the end, the point. These facilities serve a need to this neighborhood and to this community. And so hearing from you about how that programming can be enhanced, and in particular with regard to events, cultural events, special events at both the community center and the amphitheater. So again, basic assumptions, these almost go without saying. The Junior Sao Beachfront Community Center, as well as the Junior Sao Amphitheater and Bandshell, are critical cultural resources to this community. We know that. These are historically embedded into your life and into your culture here, and there's great sentimental value attached to these, powerful sentimental value attached to these facilities. I've heard countless stories about how important graduation is, for example, at these facilities, but also just the day-to-day use and the knowledge that they are there for this community's benefit. So with that said, a goal of the study and a basic premise and assumption is to maintain the existing functions that are on the site. There is no other plan than to maintain and enhance the existing functions of both the amphitheater and the community center. There has not been a proposal to tear down any facilities to make for parking or any other uses not connected to these original uses. These are here for a reason, and that's an important reason that is key to the success of this study, because in the end, they serve a function, and recognizing that that function must remain on these sites is critical. So there's been no proposal, or will be no proposal, to put other functions not related to those community recreation, special events, and outdoor recreation and enjoyment of open space. And that's the last point on this slide. There's a reason you live here at the beachfront and live in Oceanside, and it is that beach, and it is the fact that it is open space. That is an open space opportunity that you can enjoy, that you can recreate, that you can meet your neighbors at, that you can just sit and contemplate the ocean. It's just that simple. Planning here, most simply, is about how do you preserve open space when there are these other critical questions about how one restores or enhances these facilities. So what have we been doing in this process to date? There's a lot there, and there's a lot for us to know, and it all has to be documented in a way, because this in the end is a physical and graphic problem. So we basically need to draw plans and site plans and build actually 3D computer models so that we can make it accessible to you as we begin to study options in the succeeding phase. And we have met with city staff, because they are the first to tell us essentially what are the challenges that they face, but also the opportunities. And so we've heard from them, as I said, but these meetings are all about hearing from you on that subject. So to reiterate, what has not started, there have been no options developed. We are waiting to complete this phase, which we call discovery, to really begin after we've heard all of the community input, after we've gathered that, after we've completed all of this effort in this outreach, to begin in the next phase with study for options. So there have been no proposals made for any part of the site. I have made no proposals, said nothing to anyone about doing anything. It's really to hear from you. But we will be, and this is just a preface of preparation, there will be many options. Because the point of this is to think creatively, what do we do with the information you've given me about the challenges, the opportunities, the goals that you've set to me? What are the options? You can say, that's a horrible option, never show me that again. Or that's an interesting option, I'd like to know more about that. That's the point of the option development phase to come. So we have devised this process into 3 phases. The first, which we have been going through and which I've been describing, the discovery phase, which is just that, discovering existing conditions and initiating our outreach with you and learning from that outreach about the existing programs, services, and facilities. That's followed basically at the very end of this year, but mostly into the early part of next year in the spring with the option development phase, where we will be taking that information that we have gained from you with our assessment of the buildings and coming to you with how these buildings and facilities and sites and infrastructure can be upgraded, restored, brought up to current best practice standards. So that's what's happening in the option development phase. And we will be identifying for you, because I know it's high in everyone's mind, if we want to do something, how much does it cost to build it, and how much does it cost to operate it? These are things that will be assessed as well, just so we can understand when you are presented with options, what are their impacts to you. So that's a part of what we will be providing in option development. The final phase at the kind of concluding late spring of next year is really just documenting this process. What did we look at? What were the options we looked at? Where did we come together as a community with you on a consensus, if we do, in going forward, so that there's a kind of roadmap, if you will. And I want to emphasize, this isn't a design. This is a framework for decision-making so that you can constructively engage with your political leadership on the options that are available to you and make smart choices that are in line with your needs and your goals and your resources going forward. So you're in the driver's seat. In that regard. The public outreach process, I would just summarize this way. The top lines are the phases I described. We're meeting on an ongoing basis as needed with city staff, certainly, who are working with these facilities. We will also be working with all of the entities that have jurisdiction over the project, police and fire being one, knowing how emergency vehicles access and utilize the site. You can't plan anything on the ground on a site unless you know what space a fire truck takes in its path to get there. So these are all the things, the kind of nuts and bolts things that go into an assessment of this site. So that's the regulatory agencies that will be involved as we go through in the next phase. We did, as many of you know, we conducted our first of 3 community town halls. The first was in August. The last will be concluded in the final documents phase, with important ones in the option development phase. We are now fulfilling the kind of second focused program meeting, again, focusing on program. The first was on community recreation. Tonight's on cultural special events at both the community center and the amphitheater. And we have been doing the same introduction to all of your commissions that, again, have jurisdiction over the process. I will add, every one of these meetings, even though I may be repetitive, even though you've heard me say all of this before, I learn something new at every single meeting. There's something that comes out of every single meeting, which is important to me. So this has been a great process, meeting with you and with your commissions. So there'll be a total of 21 public meetings. And I'm going to say to you, the option development, stay tuned, be involved, be engaged. That's really where we really are going to look with you. And it's an iterative process that will evolve based on your direction. So it's important to be engaged in that process. So tonight with the amphitheater, we know, again, as I've said several times, these host some of the most critical, important cultural celebrations, festivals, activities in your community. The Samoan Cultural Festival, the Filipino Cultural Celebration, the Juneteenth Multicultural Celebration and Jazz Festival. These are where your community gather and express your pride. They express the diversity that exists here in Oceanside. It's where you meet your neighbors and you come to know them. And that's one of the most important functions of both the beachfront, just in general, but also certainly these facilities. I would add that these are also part of the reason we're so interested in talking with you tonight. How can we improve access and use of these facilities for those important celebrations? That's really, when we use the word focus, I want to focus. You can say anything you want to me tonight, but I want to focus. How can we improve? Because I will challenge each of you. No facility of this age can be said that there's nothing that needs to be done. They're perfect. I doubt that's true because of the age, simply because of the age. So please use the time to talk to me from your point of view. What, if anything, can be improved to facilitate these events? So for example, these are just questions to kind of tee up that. Are there programs or events that you would like to see hosted at the amphitheater that are not currently happening? So please let us know what you would like to see there that's not currently happening there. This is a very interesting question because I don't think we've talked about this much before. What is your feeling about the number of events at this? Are they just right per year? Are there too many events during the year? Are there too few? So I'd love to hear about that, about just the number of events that are taking place at these facilities. Because that's clearly, it's a neighborhood impact. And it's also something I'd like to just hear from you about that. Please also related to that, let us know about the impacts of the neighborhood when there are large events. What about parking? What about alternative modes of transportation during large events? Just talk to me about that so that we can better understand, again, the impact of large events, your access to large events or any event at the beachfront. With regard to the existing conditions of the facilities, again, I'd like to hear from you. I want to add, we have on our team a consultant that specializes in performance venues and theater. And so they are engaging with us on, again, best practice for the size of stage, lighting and all that. But I'd like to hear from you. Are there conditions you would improve in order to better support the events there? The obvious ones are lighting, audio and sound, power. You really do need to provide sufficient electrical power to support events. You may not know about these things, but please talk to me about any of your experiences where you know of something that could be improved to support an event. What about support space for the events? Restrooms, green rooms, dressing rooms that would support, even logistics. Those of you that are a part of planning and organizing and setting up and taking down the festivals that you do, talk to me about the challenges you have with utilizing that sound. If you have any knowledge of that or can share anything, that would be very helpful. What about disabled access for seniors or for those who are disabled to all of the facilities and all of the things are here? As I've mentioned to you, that's something we have an obligation to address. What about the open space? I've said in earlier presentations, this isn't just about the events at these things. We know that I'll just use the amphitheater as an example, that it is a place in Oceanside where you actually use the steps for exercise, where you use it to be outdoors, to engage at the beachfront. And so this open space resource isn't just about literally the special events, but it's the day-to-day use. So again, how can the open space around the amphitheater possibly be improved? How well does it support pre and post function at events, the logistics at events? And that raises a question I'd like to hear you weigh in on. It's the issue of vendors that are in and around this site. Just let me know about your feeling about the vendors that might support an event or might not. What's your feeling about that, please? It'd be interesting to hear you talk about that. And then just talk to us about your experience of getting to an event, whether it's I'm happy with how I get there or I'm frustrated. I'd like to understand better ways to improve access to the event for all. With regard to the community center, and I don't want to overlook it, because many of the things that you do, and I think you just completed one, well, I think you complete one about every week, but there are events on your calendar where you are co-programming at the same time things in the community center as well as the amphitheater. So understanding how those two work together is also an important thing. So are there programs and events that you would like to see hosted and that would be co-programmed between the two? Talk to me about that and how the two work together in handling the programming. And then again, what about the open space around the community center? It's a slightly different condition than obviously around the amphitheater, but how can the open space around the community center be improved in order to support the events and the functions that take place in the community center? So thank you for bearing with me. I'm eager to hear your comments, questions. Glad to see all of you here tonight. So look forward to the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you all again. So like Steve said, we want to open it up and hear from you tonight. I do want to just take a quick moment to say thank you, Mayor Sanchez, tonight for being here, as well as we do have some Parks and Rec staff here and to listen like we did at our last focus meeting. Steve and I are here. We want to hear your comments. We want to take the comments in, and we will do our best to answer any questions you have. So at this time, if I think we're going to do 3 minutes to speak. And please note, I'm going to take down your questions and if possible at the end, try as best as possible to answer them. So with that, I don't know if we've had any forms filled out or not.
We're checking the request to speak right now, but what we'll do is we'll get to the ones that did file it, and then we can turn it into like a public hearing, because with the last meeting, I know there were some people that were a little shy, but kind of warmed up as the evening went. And once the floodgates open, we can close it. And that's what we want to hear is a general feedback. And we do, but while we're starting all that out, I do have one request to speak that was already submitted here. We'll have Robert Espinoza. Are you here? To be followed by Joseph Arnold. And make your way up to the podium. And we have some other ones that were filed as well. So.
That's for this side.
Don't mind.
Yeah, right there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me today, City Council and stuff, and people here, Oceanside also. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Robert Espinosa. I am grandfather to Annabelle Flores, who was shot and killed in the park 4 years ago. So I got into the SOS program to have safety for the parks and recreations for children so they can educate. And one of my perspectives is you guys want to get rid of the icons of Oceanside, like the Junior Seattle Community Center and the band shell. I've seen, last night I did some research, and the band shell has been there, according to the Historical Society of Oceanside, since 1904. The Junior Seattle Community Center has been there since 1904 and was named, it was, it was there. So the band shell was made in 1919 also. I don't know where you guys got your information, but I did some research and I had some photographs. I didn't bring the photographs with me from back then. The band shell and Junior Seattle have been part of Oceanside community for long as I can remember, hosting many events, mostly recently Supergirl surfing contest. Also with many family members having a graduation ceremonies there, we have heard of many reasons why we should remove it and replace it. Why should we keep it, renovate it? It can be a beach to both band shells and centers, makes it more acceptable to the events and public, also to youth programs. You were mentioning that we need access to the beaches. There's already, there's already a little underground little under the railroad tracks. But you guys have, this is my perspective, you guys have on Thursdays, farmers market. Can you guys spend the farmers market towards a beach and call it Papa Makekis with little local businesses, operating, give them an opportunity for the little businesses to provide, and keep Oceanside small. We need, if you want to get rid of the pier, you want to get rid of the shell or the Junior Seattle, get rid of the pier. It doesn't make no sense. It doesn't make no sense. Get rid of St. Louis. It doesn't make no sense. We need those things. You can have the pop-up Makekis on the beach, have like Beach Boy sodas, Digit burgers, something to keep the surfer life in Oceanside. Also, let's stand together in Oceanside and keep Oceanside, Oceanside. They already moved the Top Gun house. What else are they gonna move? Oceanside, stay Oceanside, Oceanside. Please, let's stay together and do it one. Okay, thank you for your time.
Joseph Arnold, to be followed by Luisa Sao, to be followed by Mary Sao.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Joseph Arnold. I'm third generation Oceanside. My grandma and mother are both from the city. I grew up in San Marcos. But my wife and I just purchased our first home in Oceanside, so we're soon to be Oceanside residents. My attention was drawn to this issue several months ago. I saw media reports that the Oceanside City Council and our elected officials were perhaps considering removing the Oceanside Amphitheater, also known as the Junior Seattle Memorial, and the community center. Listening to Steve tonight, I am relieved to hear that the intention is to preserve those two civic icons and to essentially repair them. I'm really happy to hear that. And I hope that we're able to hold the city and hold this consultant company to its promises tonight. I think we've all seen recently, I surf, I go to the pier quite often. Growing up in this area, I've seen in the last couple of years development around the pier that I didn't see in my entire life. I'm 33 years old. I'm sure there's people here that have been around a lot longer. These hotels that are going up, the traffic congestion stemming from those, I think that is encouraging the city to subsidize the costs of these private commercial interests that are coming into town. And look, I know the Oceanside needs revenue. I know that this is a tourist destination. I know that that money comes back to the city and affects our parks and our schools and helps us. But I also know that, as Steve mentioned, places for the public to gather, all walks of life, all economic levels, are the most important things for our community. Without an actual community here in Oceanside, tours aren't going to want to visit. We're not going to be able to get that tax revenue. We need to have a strong, united community here in Oceanside. We need to have a place where people are safe to enjoy the beach. So thank you, Steve, and thank you for your time, everybody. I hope that we can preserve this public space. Thank you.
Thank you. Luisa Sao, to be followed by Mary Sao. And if you don't want to approach the podium, we do have a portable microphone that one of our staff members could meet you in the audience with.
Hi, my name is Mary Sao. I am the former NFL player, Junior Sao. I have a question, and I just want to make sure I understand what's going on. For the community, Junior Sao Community Center, you found that there are things that needs to be repaired. So if you find rust in the walls, how far would you go to break that wall down to find that that you would have to remodel the whole place? What's the difference between restoration and just fixing it, demolishing it? And then just repair it. Okay.
Steve? There's a microphone button if you wanted to, but if,
I'm going to pause your time, Mary.
Okay.
I was going to say too, to make sure we can try to get an answer to you, Mary, if we can't expand on it in length now, we can address that question at the end too.
Okay. So that was my question, is how far would you go before demolishing that building or that area that you have to fix? And for the Junior Sao amphitheater, I do understand that there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the amphitheater. And I do agree that it does need repair. We need a bigger bathroom in the back, more area in the back. How far will you extend the building without demolishing or changing the face of the amphitheater? And that's it. Just wanted to know exactly what kind of changes are you guys going to make before you make that drastic decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Luisa Sao, do you wish to speak? No? Okay. Laurel Freeman. And again, if you have any request to speak cards, you can hand them to one of our staff members or myself. But after we get through all the registered requests to speak, we'll open it up public hearing style and then move on to our participants on via Zoom.
Hi, hello, my first time here, and thank you for inviting the public. I think that's great for us to have an opportunity to give our 2 cents. My name's Laurel Freeman. I've lived in Oceanside for 7 years, and pretty much every day I walk from the Wisconsin parking lot down to the pier and beyond. So I am very familiar with that area, and I love going down there and seeing the hustle and bustle of things that are happening. In the amphitheater, sometimes you see people, doing their workouts or dancing to salsa music or whatever. And I have no problem with the vendors. In fact, I've thought, it's kind of great that it attracts small vendors, attract people. And I think, I enjoy seeing people. I enjoy walking on the pier. I hope that someday we'll get a restaurant there again. So my idea is for the amphitheater, I've always thought it would be really nice to have like Sunday afternoons, have some concerts or cultural events. Like when you were talking and showing pictures, I was thinking of, wouldn't it be great to have like once a month where it was a different cultural event, maybe Hawaiian dancing or a Polish festival or mariachis or some classical music that would be played for a few hours on a Sunday afternoon that would be available to families to come and listen to. And so I just, think something to keep the amphitheater interesting, musical, inviting people that would come and enjoy it. That would be something I would love to do, and I would stop and listen. Parking, could be an issue because there are times when parking is tough. I guess they're not filming Animal Kingdom anymore, so I think I'm safe now for my parking. But pretty much most of the time I'm able to park. I usually walk at sunset, and I usually can find parking at one of the lots. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Mayor Sanchez, you're next.
Good evening. Well, this has been a bit of a process, and I have to tell you that before this process started, there were several negative things that were going on here. One, there was pretty much a feeling that certain activity was being excluded. I would say basketball for the kids, especially at the community center. This was something that was happening independent of this process. And so when we got into this process, and I learned, and there was another thing, by the way, huge pressure from the hotels on the city council members and city staff to do something in front of where it stands, where their projects stand, to make it look more like part of a resort, right? So to all of us locals here who know this is parkland, this is our park, this is the people's park. These were very negative things. So when I heard that there were going to be 21 meetings about what we should do, we still had not gotten, and we still haven't gotten responses as to when is the community center going to be open to the community? When is it going to be easier to have access to it so we can bring back basketball, volleyball? You look at what the high schools excel in and what the kids do to get into, to get scholarships. You look at El Camino and Oceanside High, and it is basketball and volleyball along with soccer and all these other things. But pretty much when you only have 2 gyms, indoor basketball courts in the whole city, then to suggest that basketball maybe not be the best thing there, you saw a lot of pushback. So I'm glad that you have listened to the city staff, as well as the consultant, have listened to the community, that this is something so very, very important. You did not list all the cultural events that take place in Oceanside. Some of them have been moved away from there because access has been difficult. We used to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. The LGBTQ community used to have their events there. I mean, there are so many groups that have made this city look really great and have really caused this kind of cultural infusion, cultural explosion, positiveness for the ability to have tourism, here. It's not just Juneteenth, it's more than that. It's more, and we're more. And so that is what you have been seeing a bit of, that what are you going to do? What is the city council going to do? And I'll tell you that if the council, if the plan is anything that is not for our public good, for our, you want to say locals, yeah, it's locals. And that's where we should have been, locals. That is what attracts, businesses and the community. And so this is what we need. When you did the planning for events or programming out of the Beach Community Center, well, I'm sure you heard a lot from the community. You've got the Samoan community present. You've got Mama Seau here, who is such a strong person here in here at City Hall, as well as in our community, our Samoan community, very, very important. We've got 9% AAPI in our community, 36% Latino, and we have African-American communities and Philam. And what I'm saying is that this is a beautiful community that we all need to be included. We need to have access. If you have better circulation and you have the ability to not, have to deal with huge costs, and of course, there's going to be a lot of events there. Not sure how are we going to be competing against each other? I mean, at this point, the only reason why it's not in use more is because of the lack of investment that the city has made all these years. And I'm on the city council, so I've seen this and I've tried to change that. So it is my hope that with the public being, energized about what is happening and all these tourism dollars coming in and none of it really going back into the community, back into something that is so great for our community such as Junior Seau public parkland, that, by the way, would take a vote of the people to change it from a park to something else. Then this is a time for us to stand in. And I hope that you were able to see that. I hope the city staff was able to see that this is a time for us to really stand and really speak and be heard. And we can't afford to just sit down. So thank you very much. I hope you all talk, because we need you all to talk, because I haven't been able to get there yet, but I understand that roller skating is back there, back in Oceanside. And we used to have a roller skating rink and it got, redeveloped, right, into housing. We can't afford to lose these facilities. So please, please speak. Thank you.
Samuel Pomelli, to be followed by Amanda Vergara. Okay. To be followed by Eric Joyce.
Good evening. My name's Sam Pomelli. I'm sure a lot of the guys who've been here for some of the meetings have heard me talk before. Anyway, before I go any further, I always open up with the fact that, the heart and our heart and the community's heart is actually to sustain the buildings we have. And the last time I stood up here, I reiterated that part of that is financial concern of what it's going to cost us and the cost that would come from, say, putting money into these facilities, and also the usage of them. Basically, I've heard a lot of different people, different views tonight as far as like the role that the legacy of Junior Seau and so forth is. But what really hits us at the heart is because, as Mayor Sanchez pointed out, the thing is that it's a very, very tight community. I like to kind of phrase our relationship in the different diversities in our city that it's, we're not Black or Samoan or white or whatever that happen to be Oceansiders. In this case, we're Oceansiders that happen to be Black, Samoan, and white or whatever it may be. And that's what binds us together, is because all the way from childhood and Junior growing up in this town, this is something we grew up with. We're always mindful of each other's culture. So when we have these facilities like the Beach Community Center, to get right to the point, the reason why we are very nervous and very concerned about any changes is not only the financial aspects of it, the way it plays itself out, because these fees are going to show up somewhere down the line. And commonly from experience in other venues and other places, it translates itself out into the cost of what it's going to cost. So if, let's say the way it is now where these facilities are for the community. Well, it doesn't do us any good if with all these upgrades, we go down to access our facilities and we can't even afford them because of all the upgrades and the costs that go downhill. So basically that's one of the financial concern. The other concern is assuming that you guys have told me every time I've gotten up here is that don't worry, the buildings are going to stay, they're not going to come down. Because tonight's meetings, about what can we do to improve. As far as the activities that we've had down at the Beach Community Center, the one thing that I would say that we have to really look at, assuming, okay, that the facilities are going to be left, the Junior Seau amphitheater and also the community center, is parking is important. So if you look at the map that you're showing us with that parking lot that's just south of the amphitheater, I myself would say if we're dealing with parking, which has disappeared because of the hotels up top, and assuming that this facility is for the community, then we need to look at the community needs, like you guys said. My take on that would be that parking structure that you have now, the parking lot, can be a tri-level parking. But this is the thing, it's got to be for the people, for the facility, not for the hotel's purposes upstairs. It's for us. Because when we bring our families down there, at this point, parking will be an issue because we lost the parking lot to the hotels. So with the safety of our children, if you're asking me, a 3-level parking structure on that space that's now a parking lot where you have access from the street level up top and access from the beach down on the bottom. That would be my suggestion of any kind of upgrade. But again, like I said, that would be for the purpose of the community and also in lieu of the fact that those two sites would remain under the city's control for the purpose of the community and all our social functions. So thank you very much for giving me that time tonight.
Amanda Bergara, to be followed by Eric Joyce.
Thank you. Mayor Sanchez brought up pressure from the developers to the city council and to the city management about making our public spaces like the band shell and the community center area as being more resort-like. The fact that the developers are putting pressure on the city and the city is even accepting that or considering that pressure disgusts me, frankly. The city should have required the developers to create parking solutions when that land was sold and when those deals were done. Why the deals are always in favor of the developers, where we build 7-story structures. I mean, in Carlsbad, they limit it to 3 to protect the views of the citizens. In Oceanside, the citizens always get the shaft over the developer deals. The city council doesn't look out for us. That is the bottom line. They just don't. And we don't do a good enough job holding our city council officials accountable. But to even consider that we would lose our public spaces that are actually gems that the city council could be marketing fabulously, that band shell should be filled every weekend. It is on the ocean. It's full of people in this vibrant area. And the fact that it is not being marketed well is just a waste. It's a sad waste. I don't know what the city is doing when it comes to events. What do we have? Maybe like 4 or 5 a year, that come back, like the surf contest and stuff. Is anybody actually marketing the venues here that we have that are fantastic concert venues? Anyway, that's a sidebar. But bottom line is, The developers should not be putting the pressure upon the city. The city should be putting the pressure on the developers, and the city should be requiring the developers to do right by the city. They should not take our public parking lots. Fine. If you're going to take them, then you better build a parking structure either below or above, figure it out. But don't let them take our public spaces. And then after that, take more of them to replace what the developers took. How does that even make sense? It just doesn't. So moving forward, I really hope that we as a community do a better job holding our city council accountable and responsible for these backroom deals that they make with the developers without our input. And I also hope that we do not let them cave from this pressure that they're getting from the developers. It's just unacceptable in my position, or in my opinion. Thank you.
Eric Joyce?
I'm gonna read from her notes. That's the one. So you asked a lot of questions tonight that were really important. Number of events, type of events, all that. And it's all about priorities. What are we gonna prioritize when we go through this process? So I would just ask that we prioritize access to local groups for events. What does priority look like? Well, it's early registration. It's not a free-for-all. If you're talking about large groups like developers, like hotel groups, they are organized in a way that they can snatch up all of the great high priority weekends where local organizations that have been here doing the work in the community, building community for years and decades are going to have a hard time competing with that. Early registration is priority. Reduced fees. Should a local group that's doing community work be paying the same amount to rent out that space as a group that's coming in to make money off the city? Yeah, they're going to bring people in, but building Disneyland on the sand would bring people in. We don't want that on the sand. We want local groups as priorities. And then seek them out. Don't wait for our local groups to come to you. Yeah, talk to the people in this room. They can tell you what the local groups are. They can point the way. Those are the groups that we want holding events there that are community centered, that build our youth up. I know I've heard suggestions that maybe, well, we talk about selling it away, so we're not going to get rid of it altogether, but could we be selling access? That's a question that I would like answered tonight. Is it on the table that we would ask somebody else to pay for some of these upgrades and then give them priority access to the best weekends, to the best dates, to the beautiful fall, October weather on the beach in these spaces? If we need to sacrifice a few bells and whistles to keep access open and free and priority with the community, then I think everyone in this room can agree that you should prioritize us and give those bells and whistles up. Thank you.
That concludes the speakers that have registered. I know that some of you, this is your first time here, or you were shy at first. Now you want to speak. Now is the time to come on up to the podium, state your first and last name if you have anything to say or share. This is your, yeah, come on up. Oh, you need a microphone. Yeah. So Shane here will have a microphone for you, but we do have some empty chairs in the front if anybody wants to. Yeah. And then if you are on Zoom and wish to make a comment, you could raise your hand and we'll make sure that you will have an opportunity to speak. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Joe Naylor. I grew up in Oceanside. I grew up in the same block that Miss Ciel here, 1401 Zeiss Street. I know Mary over there. And I see Oceanside has changed a lot because it's like the basketball gym down there, I don't see no activity down there going in there, you know? I'm kind of nervous right now because I'm kind of mad now because the way things are happening now, that the developer, like that young lady said right there, is something else. It's really a shame. They don't have no parking down there. They don't have no activity down there. I see they have all that No, I'm not gonna talk about all that, but I'm just saying, the people that know that in his room right here, they know what's going on. And Sanchez, she raised in Oceanside here too. And I grew up there on Zai Street, and you just don't know how we felt when we were younger. You know, we had more pride. Oceanside right now, the community needs to be more together. Our community needs to be more together, be more stronger, you know? And it hurts me when I see stuff like that up in the Oceanside. They have all them buildings. It's what they build, the development, they build all kinds of things up there. They're not having no beach there. They're trying to knock down that community center gym. No, I don't like that. That's not really, it shouldn't be like that, you know? But I can't say nothing because I don't have that power. But if I had that power, I would change that. A lot of things. That's all I got to say. God bless.
Anybody else? You can either go up to the podium or wave your hand and flag down one of our staff members here. And just remember to say your first and last name for the record.
Okay, hello, my name is Nicole Mersey. I just have two questions that we don't need to answer right now. It's kind of off topic, but one thing similar to what Mary had said earlier, about the buildings. My question was if there's been like any preliminary inspections, like just to see like what kind of things we're looking at that need to be repaired. And then the second thing is, I was just curious as to who's actually in charge of programming the events and activities that happen in that area. Okay, so now to the topic. Also piggybacking on Mr. Pomelde, parking is really hard. I mean, we're local, we live like 5 minutes away. And, you know, obviously we can't walk. I could run to the beach, but it's like a mile. But it's just really hard for us to go to events because there's really no parking. And I agree with him on his idea. I know a lot of people are like parking structure, but I think the parking's already there. And as long as you're not thinking of adding, like moving the gym or adding more to the gym, the parking lots are there. So why not go up? And it also would help with ADA access as well, because right now there's technically ADA access, but not really. Like, to be honest and to be real, it's going down that very steep ramp. And if you're not in an electric wheelchair, you can't really get up and down. So I think that going up that level would definitely help people get down to the amphitheater and the gym as well. Sorry, I'm nervous as well. And then I also thought that, I mean, if they can't do that as well, like on Harbor Days, they do something where you park kind of far and they have like buses that take you to the event. So, I mean, if parking is still an issue, that's also an option. If we have plenty of public transportation and buses, that there's an open lot somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where right now, but that's also an option. I agree with the better backstage areas in the gymnasium and the amphitheater. In the gymnasium, there is a back area, and I believe like when I was younger, it was just like really dark and things were just thrown back there. So it wasn't really usable. But so yeah, definitely if we could upgrade those a little bit so they're useful. And let's see. And then someone mentioned the scheduling the programs on a consistent basis, such as like cultural programming. I think that'd be really awesome if we could. And like the other guy said, we should reach out. You know, I don't know who's doing the programming, but maybe if we had someone that was like part of the community that would reach out to local people and local groups and just ask them like, hey, would you like to do something? Like, here's our open dates, etc. Instead of having them come to us or the programmer. I think like family movie nights would be awesome. Local science fairs for middle schoolers, like to hold it in the gymnasium. STEM events for kids, educational events, and necessarily, we don't have to fund those. Like, it's really easy to get sponsors. I did that for the fairgrounds, and like, it's really easy to get people to sponsor events for like education and for youth. Sunset Market would be awesome down there. My sister and I went to go work out. We did a run to the beach and then we got some food before here. So I think the seating is, I kind of like how it is because a lot of people do utilize it for working out. Sorry, one more thing. And I missed the 4th of July. When I was younger, we grew up, we had fireworks, we had like a little carnival, we had vendors. Yeah, it was just really awesome. So I do miss that as well. So if we could do something for like holidays, family events for, yeah, holidays and stuff like that, that'd be great. Thank you.
I don't know how far this carries though. Hi, good evening, Arlene Hammerschmidt. For formerly OHS, volleyball and physical education. Number one, speaking politically.
Arlene, you could use this podium. It's already turned around.
Thank you. Time out. Okay,
I paused your time and I'll restart it right now.
thank you very much, Sam. Okay, politically, when everybody in this room remember and tell your friends and neighbors, when you get those multiple slick, big, expensive mailers, those people running for office or trying to change our mind on a ballot issue, that money usually comes from developers. So don't vote for those people. Okay, because that's how we got into the situation we're in right here. We can correct that. We've got multiple people that we know. I'll go backwards. Clear the vendors out of that area and make more space, open space for activity or just to view from the wherever to the ocean. Okay, from memory, way back in the 50s, there was something going on at that band shell every Friday night in the summertime. It was like the mariachi bands, Marine Corps bands, square dance clubs. And then recently we could have skateboard clinics there. There could be stunt skateboard events down there. That was things that draw the residents. Events that draw the residents, either as participants or as observers. There could be local emerging bands or vocal groups, even like Sweet Adelaide's or et cetera. Dia de los Muertos could come back down there. There was even at one time, I remember there was a swing dance, a swing band, old time swing, but younger people love the swing right now. People were dancing all over that floor in front of the band shell. And why not add events for locals in the fall, the winter, and the spring, when the tourist population is at least a little thinner, and we could have more access to this. And the price of access is huge. If it's too high, it's a barrier to access to locals for everything. We've heard that before. So watch your mail. Remember what I said at the beginning. There's a lot of people here going, oh yeah, that's true. That's how we got in this mess. All right, so spread the word. Let's change that behavior. We can be smarter than that. Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Donald Yaskochi, and I run a free basketball clinic for the kids. Doing it over 20 years. And recently, we've been running our clinics out at Melba Bishop because we have not had access to the beach center here. And the problem with that is, and problem with not having access for kids that live here in Center Street. Let me tell you a story about, there's two girls that, Melissa and Elizabeth, they're 10 and 12, and they haven't been able to come. It's too far. And they used to walk down there. They live right in Center Street, right on the gang area, right where they're just, to me, they're like, to be honest, right now, I feel like they're like prey. And they're just, their parents work and don't have time, they don't have, can't take them way out there. Before, when they were in the basketball at the rec center here, they were able to be able to walk. And you know, when basketball was done, you know, I'd follow them home, or their mother would walk down and pick them up. But now I'm worried about them. I'm worried that you know, my wife runs works for the school district, and she runs the program for the teenage mothers. And at 13, at 14, at 16. And, you know, they're just, those girls are, if they're not, if they don't have the structure and they don't have the access, you know, they're vulnerable. And when I've been to 3 of these meetings, and it seems like it's all about, well, this is the problem. This is the problem. That's the problem. Well, you know what? Why can't we fix it? Well, I mean, it's just, oh, there's not enough electricity. There's not enough this, not enough that. I mean, you know, we have plenty of money. The city has money. I don't even know why this issue's up. It doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense. Fix the band shell. Fix the dang, rebuild the gym or build another gym right next to it. But I mean, I come to this and it's ridiculous. Oh, well, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, you know what? I could break down things on anything that anybody's saying or anybody's showing me, and I could tell you what negative things about it. I mean, I don't need a consultant for that. I need a consultant that wants to tell me, hey, okay, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, and it's going to cost this much money. But to me, I just come here and I seem like I just waste my time because I have to wake up early. I go work. I'm a farmer, and I don't have time like to listen to this. But I do know that once if you fix it, if you put the money in and the time and you work at it, if you build it, they will come. So I'm hoping that everybody's heard here and people listen and like, you know what? I'm pro, my parents, they sold my family sold the property out there. I'm not against development. That's how they're retired. But you know what? I mean, when you're affecting like kids and when you're affecting things like that, it should be untouchable. You need to fix it. And that's it.
All right, good evening, everybody. Anthony Flores, Craft Street. Wasn't planning on speaking, but everything that's been said has been said to death. So I just want to speak to everyone here in this room about accountability and holding everybody accountable. You know, city council members, the mayor, city staff, that's what it's all coming down to, really, is accountability. We've heard all this stuff before when they built the window and when they're trying to privatize a pier and how quickly we forget about that, you know. The parking structures, they took away our free parking. We were supposed to get another free parking structure back. They built a parking structure, but now it's $5 to park there. So it's all coming down to accountability. The basketball in the dark, Coach Donald, love you to death. Running the basketball program. My girls go and practice. We were one of those families practicing in the dark. You know, Coach Donald doesn't care. He's there for the kids. But holding everybody accountable, whether it's city council members, city staff, access, whatever the case may be, that's all I'm here to talk about is accountability. I know we're talking about we're not going to tear down anything yet, but we've seen it happen time again. I mean, look at the bathroom remodel. That was supposed to be done when the hotels were done. They can throw 2 7-story structures up, but we can't fix a 1-story bathroom. That's where it all comes down to accountability. And everyone in this room needs to keep this going, keep showing out, keep showing support, and keep speaking. Because that's when we're heard. That's when the community comes together. Okay. Again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Everything's been said. Just hold your city council members, whatever district you're in, hold them accountable, and city staff. That's it. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lorna De La Cruz. I went here kindergarten back in the day. I served in the military for 30 years and came back home. And I just want to say that words do matter. I get tired of hearing about opportunities, about development. But I'm here to talk about the heart and the soul and legacy of Oceanside. And we have epitome of our family values, the hard work of the Seau family. And Junior Seau's center, the amphitheater, I do remember volleyball tournaments, all kinds of things. You can have even the gamers right now do tournaments. You can have Farmer Don having cooking classes and to show me what to do with my freaking asparagus because I don't know. You can have the high schoolers or the grade schoolers or the little ones show off their photography or their pottery wear. You can have dances, any kind of dances, whether it's swing or the hula or even b-boy back in the day, 90s kind of music. The thing is, when I go towards the pier or to those buildings that do have heart and soul, you're right, man. You can tear down structures, but what you're tearing down now is spirit that has, I mean, we've got, just like you said, we've got parents that work maybe 2, 3 jobs. Their kids are working jobs and they need a place to develop their talents, to develop their skills so that they can continue to be the upstanding citizens of Oceanside, the spirit of Oceanside, the surf vibe of Oceanside. When I go down there now, and I usually walk way far away because parking is a bleep kind of problem, but I don't feel the soul of Oceanside. If we are more geared to the development, if the vibe is of a hotel, and they're taking away the excitement, the legacy, the honor, the future gifts that our children have. And, oh, by the way, to honor the vintage senior contributions that we've had. That's what Oceanside is all about. And when, we talk about promoting youth sports, and it can be any kind of sport, but as y'all know, that it's not necessarily to make Olympic people or NFL Hall of Famers, although we do have that in the Seau family. It's to build character, to build teamwork and development. So I say, please listen. Don't use those empty words. The heart and soul of Oceanside is alive and well, but we just got to band together. Thank you very much.
Then we do have comments on Zoom as well. Yeah. Kelly, we're getting to you soon, so hang in there.
Hello, my name is Joe Taulau. I'm a local, been here pretty much all my life. And this is, just everything down here, it's ridiculous to me. Keep it real with you guys, keep it. Since I was here, ever since I was a kid, the beach, the bandshell, the pier, everything was like the heartbeat of Oceanside. And now as the years went by, I understand change, but this change is ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. Parking lots was already explained. It's like, what I really wanted to say is for the city to support the city, not support the tourists. You know, you guys are building up all these sky rises and stuff, and I understand the money is flowing in, but someone said, like, you guys got a lot of money to invest to the next generation that's coming, that's developing here in the city of Oceanside. Those resource centers like the community parks and stuff, it's for a reason. It's for a cause. And it's for the next generation to be able to be trained and to be developed, to be a better society for the next generation. Like I said last time I was up here, I'm thankful for like Mike Collins, Wayne Garnett. Those are the ones that was investing, pretty much pouring into our lives when we were trying to go the wrong way. We have a community where it's all kind of messed up in the different parts of the city. And those resource centers was the resource for us to get right. You know, as for myself, I was one of those ones that went in the wrong path. But when I was in my downfall moment, I realized those people that was investing in myself, like Mike Collins, Wayne Garnett. That's why I was like, dang, this is why they were telling me. But I got involved in the mess that I got into, and I was really thinking about, that's what they were there for, is try to help me so I won't get sucked in those trenches. And a lot of things that I really liked was football. Junior Sal, much props to the family. He was one of the big influences in the Samoan community. Everybody wanted to be like Junior. Seriously, you remember that song where everybody wants to be like Mike? Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson. In this city, in the Samoan community, everybody wanted to be like Junior. He was the one that took the Samoan community to the level. And like, really, I don't think you guys should take, he's one of the pillars of the city. Grew up in this city. That amphitheater, the band shell, is named after him. And he's one of those ones. I just want to say for you guys to get back and support the city. Don't be like the Chargers and leave out. San Diego didn't support the Chargers. Get behind the city. You got great, there's a next generation that is rising above. And they need those things opened up, like the rec centers. They need positive people to influence, because we know our city is, we're not Carlsbad, we're not Encinitas. We're none of that. We're more of an urban area. And we need those resources for our kids, because they could either go right or left. And those resources need to be opened up. People talking about Center Street, Sully. And we need those, our city, this place right now ought to be packed out right now to voice our opinion. I hope our voices will work out some way. And another thing, I just wish, I wanted to let the city know if you guys could get behind the high schools, like El Camino Oceanside. They won the CIF championship in 2019. We should have all been there, like celebrating, having some type of parade. Not a parade, but something just to celebrate those youth. They even went they was state championships. So they ruled the division that they were in for the state of California. We should all have got back behind them and supported them, congratulated those kids. I don't know how they're doing well right now, but I hope so. But my time's up. I just want, the city, man, just to get behind.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to our Zoom. Kelly, I asked you to unmute, and it looks like you did, so you could start whenever you want.
Thank you, City Clerk Navarro, and I do appreciate the space, so thank you so much. I was going to speak as a person that actually worked the amphitheater, won the high school graduation, where I literally got my hands dirty because I had to take the cord and dig a trench and lay the cord in the beach sand, and then cover it up to the lighthouse. So my first observation when you ask who has worked here is, one, are you in communication, or is it necessary for the engineers or whomever is involved to be in contact with that pier project, with the lifeguard project, and with the amphitheater, because they all share ground and wiring? And I'm not trying to tell someone how to do their job, but as a project manager myself, that would be one of my concerns, is all this stuff is being fixed or repaired or whatever that is, and the ground is shifting. So whatever is in place, is it possible for the structure to have long lasting effects as much as a beach can because of erosion? And we already know about the studies that are going down with the sand replenishment and beach all of that. But are you all in communication so that our daughters and sons and grandchildren don't have to revisit this project? And let's talk about all of it. And as a person that also project manage and listening to the citizens, can there be some young people involved? I know Oceanside High School has a photography department. And one of the things I keep hearing is the developers or people come in and they take and they get money, but can you create a program for the young people to become involved in what does that look like to rebuild a band shell or a video project that can ultimately be in the film festival? There has to feel like there's some kind of sewing, a creative sewing. And for our housing insecure people who would just, some of them would love to get their hands literally dirty. Is there an internship program? Is there an opportunity here to explore new careers, especially during a time like this? That I would also encourage the company that's talking about all of this. How can you get the community involved? And how can you help the community learn a new skill set that might be marketable in this workplace? Vocational training program or such. And I also want to say I worked at the culminating event for Youth Success Week a couple of years ago. Margaret Mellick asked me to be a stage manager, Go Raccoons. And I do know that it is not handicap accessible, the band shell. And it's also, you know, no kind of backstage. And I understand people want to keep that structure in place. But, you know, there's an opportunity to really revisit that and the electrical wiring and the backstage area. And I just want to say that I do hope that anything that I have heard this evening is how important the citizens want this to be integral and they want to be involved. So we can spend some time creatively thinking about how to educate and maybe give something back to the community with some hands-on experience. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
All right, thank you, Kelly. I don't see any more hands raised on Zoom, but we do have public comment. Kind of last call for public comment at this moment. Right?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Genevieve Wonder, and I want to thank you all for coming today. We have to show the city that we're united in this project. Today, actually, the program presented was to decide about various programs at this rec center, at this band shell. But how can we program stuff if we don't have the band shell? That's our first priority, is keeping that band shell and keeping that rec center. Then we go into the programs. Because you can't make stew if you don't have a pot to put it in. So this is very, very important that the city knows. Thank you, Mayor Sanchez. She has been a staunch supporter of this whole project. But we all need to back this. We all need to be a part of this. The whole community does. The city council, the project manager has to be involved with this. Save this structure. When we have old people, we don't put them out. We take care of them. This is what we need to do as citizens. We need to do this for our youth, for my grandson, for your grandkids. Anyway, I get too emotional, but in any case, let's give us a hand. We all deserve a hand in here for being a part of this. Thank you again. That's it for me.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jimmy Figueroa. Born and raised in Oceanside. When I think about the band shell and what it represents, especially after it was named after Junior Seau, the band shell was named after Junior Seau, not just because he was a Hall of Famer, but because he was from Oceanside. We all take pride in the fact that Junior was from Oceanside and he accomplished what he accomplished. He was a member of our community. And in all honesty, that band shell should have been named after him way before he passed. I really believe that was prolonged. He should have been alive to see that named after him. But with that being said, him being a member of our community, there should be priority in regards to who has accessibility to it. Our residents our grassroots organizations, faith-based organizations, our cultural organizations here in the city should have priority to that band shell and the events. We take pride in those. It unites us as a community. Here in Oceanside, I know you've heard it said, I know some of you guys are not from here, but we look after each other and we really support one another as a community. There's people here in this room that, you know, helped me as I was a kid, seeing Mr. Papuli and his wife here. I'm, you know, a Mexican kid growing up in Oceanside, but they would take me to Orange County to play basketball games. They're a Samoan family. You know, we really were raised around one another. And when it comes to that band shell, that's something that needs to be prioritized. Our cultural events, things that will lift up our city's morale, things that will unite us and bring us closer together. And that's a fear for all of us. I think that's why we're here. We think about the hotels and we think about them taking the band shell with all of the events, booking all the dates. I know that the city has to raise money, but our cultural events bring in money to the city too, because I'll be honest, a lot of us that are here from Oceanside, we don't really come to the downtown area anymore. We can't afford it. We kind of been priced out of this area. And even coming to this meeting, I had to park on Horn Street because people were parking everywhere just to get down there. Those hotels used to be our parking lots. And so with all that being said, I just hope that the community's prioritized when it comes to the accessibility of the band shell and the rec center. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Wilson Godney, and I just want to ask you all to show up at the Parks and Rec Commission meeting on November 9th. Talk about holding people accountable. So I want to make a motion on that day to kind of look at some of the programming that we might be lacking in certain facilities. I know that we're kind of focused on just these two areas, but it does relate to all of it as far as the what the staff may or may not be doing. So I'm just asking for support there to hold our commission. I'm new to the commission, so I don't know a lot of the protocol or whatever, but it's a pretty important commission meeting. So asking you to all show up 6:30 and just ask questions, whatever you need to do. But please support that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we'll hand it back to Dar.
Congratulations. I did not recognize it. It's ridiculous. I should have. It's so important for us to actually graduate on that stage. And for it not to be charging the school district an arm and a leg to it. I can tell you that that's a significant amount of money. And that was part of the reasons that we've had trouble. So sorry.
Oh, no, thank you. Yes. Sure. Still too far away. Come up. Sure. Oh, go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm Lisa Russell. Always feel compelled to come up and say a few words. Longtime resident, 61 years. I had a birthday since the last meeting. My thing for Oceanside, I love Oceanside. I love everything about Oceanside. I want to support Oceanside. I want to support our mayor. I want to support everybody. But let's come together. Let's save our streets. Let's get our youth out there. The beach center, I'm still trying to figure out how come we're not using it. It's a great venue. We need our youth to be down there. Donald needs a place for his kids. I mean, people want to help our community, but how can we help our community? I don't know if this is a meeting to speak and say, why isn't the beach center open for our youth? And the Junior Seau Center, you know what? Let's fix it. Somebody was saying we have money. I just want to know, we're having all these meetings. When is it going to start? When's it going to finish so that we can get our youth back into the beach center, the Junior Seau Beach Center? And I also wanted to say, I want to thank Wayne Godney He's a pillar in our community, helping out youth all over. And I know you guys hear these names over and over, but I'm telling you, these people are people that should be thanked for Oceanside, helping Oceanside. And I'm going to practice what I preach and help also. So thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for allowing me to speak. And that's it. Thank you, Dar.
Hi, my name's Shannon Seau, and just to kind of reiterate everything that everyone said. So I have been born and raised Oceanside. And so just like how everyone is now bringing up the hotels and everything with the new downtown vibe, if you will. Do you remember being able to come down Mission and see all of the ocean? No obstructions, nothing. You could drive to the top, see everything, and still be able to see part of the top of the bandshell. That is non-existent anymore. Completely gone. It's essentially now a concrete jungle, and none of us wanted that. Yes, I understand from like the revenue aspect. Yes, that brings in visitors and what have you. But like I mentioned the other meeting, the Junior Seau Community Center is the only one in Oceanside that's only open 4 hours in a day. Why? Did anyone get an answer on that from the last meeting? No? That's the problem. Open 4 hours a day. Who's supposed to use it? I used to actually play and was coached by Coach Donald. We used to use the Boys and Girls Club. He's trying to get into a community center, part of the community, but we can't use it. That's the problem. So I know that there's people from Parks and Rec, so please let whomever it is that needs to know this know that that's not appropriate. But again, we as a community have to come together and stand our ground, all hands on deck, and we can't let everyone just kind of push us out like they've already done so far. It ends now, but we all have to have a voice, but we also have to be able and willing to show up so it doesn't happen. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your comments. We'll toss it back to our city staff.
All for coming again tonight. I just want to say, I know there are some comments about the amount of meetings, and I want to reiterate, I know how much time it takes out of your day. You've been working all day to come here and then provide comments, but we really want to make sure we have every opportunity in having these focus meetings and going to the respective commissions and committees so that we can hear everything. We don't want to miss an opportunity to get feedback. And so again, tonight, it's taking up your time, but we appreciate it. And getting into the next phase, which we're getting closer to that, that's where we're going to get into the option development. That's where we're going to look at all the feedback we've been receiving throughout all of these meetings, how we can put that together and what those options are, because we're getting various comments. And so, we really, really wanted to reiterate that the uses of these areas, that there's no intent to change those. And that there's, to answer, I don't know, Mary's still here, some of your questions, Mary, you brought up an excellent point. I can't answer that right now, but that is something that we are going to look at. That's something that's going to get looked at. All of the site assessments we've done, the analysis that's been done, that information will be available to look at. This is public information. We want to go through it all with you, but I don't have that now, but it is something that's going to get looked at, because what's the extent of repairs for these facilities and how we can develop options from those. I know there was a bunch of questions and I took them down. Hopefully I can answer most of them, but someone had a question about the pier project. I want to let you know that's a project that I'm working on as well, because we know how closely these integrate and overlap. The pier project is a project that has a design and is going to move to construction, where we're looking at just a study, but they do overlap in ADA and access. And so that's something that by having the same project manager, we want to try to prevent anything from being overlooked, because these facilities, this is an opportunity to look at the long term of these facilities. And so we know how crucial this area is. And I think there's some other questions. I really want to reiterate how important we had our first formal public outreach meeting and the huge attendance we had, which I'll admit was a little intimidating being up here. But it was great. We had so many people and so much input. And when we get to that next phase with option development, it's going to be a town hall meeting, and Steve might be able to expand on it more than I can, but where we can sit down and have conversations about what options and how we can integrate them. And it'll be more of an interactive process. So as soon as I have that information available, we'll put it on the study webpage. We want to make sure we get that circulated in the newspaper, through all of the social media, because we want all of you to come again. But really get into the details with it and what options we can do. Again, we do have Parks and Rec staff here that I know we can't answer all those questions about programming, history. I know we wanted to focus tonight on the special events. We got a lot of input on that, I feel like. But, you know, everything that we're getting tonight, we are collecting that. And I'm downloading that as the project manager. So I want you to know that. So Steve, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to expand on too.
I would just add a couple things in response to Mary's question, just to keep it super simple. You can always basically restore a building, even if you have to take portions of it apart to put it right back together. It's done all the time. So that it is not a solution to necessarily go right to demolition. You may have to take things apart in order to repair. I did want to address your question, and it expands a bit on what Dara said. We do have a team of engineers who have conducted not only reconnaissance of the existing buildings and site visually, but also reviewing drawings and other documents that the city gave us. So we have understood what are the problems that need to be fixed. And this is kind of to your point. I know it's really bad and depressing news, and I hate to be the one to do it, to say there's this and this wrong, but just like with your house, when you hear the plumbing is not working, it's good to know that, because that tells you how much it might cost to fix it. And so, yes, it's bad news. It's not fun news, but if we're going to have, you all strike me as fiscally responsible, prudent people, and I've heard a lot of people concerned about that. You can't know what something costs unless you know the problem exists. So yeah, you're hearing things, and we'll hear. And we have a very complete assessment from structural engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, civil engineers, and even sustainability that have looked at the building, and certainly ADA access, which you brought up. So I just want to, that has been a significant part. And as Dara said, there will be detailed documents that kind of record that assessment. And quite frankly, they build upon an assessment that the city completed prior to us even coming into this project. So I think that's all I would, I think, again, to your point, and Dara said it, this has been a phase about hearing and gathering information and doing our own research with our own team of engineers. But it's the next phase, but we will be coming back to you and actually engaging you on what are the creative ways in which to achieve these goals for these facilities. That's really the goal.
Oh, go ahead. I'll be completely honest. I don't have the ability to answer that question. That's outside the realm I can answer. I can say that there's multiple different funding sources that we have for various projects. Our beachfront improvement project that's under construction right now has grant funding, in addition to our Measure X funding. It's been brought up, commented. I'd say I've heard both sides of the spectrum on that in terms of concern, and also the positive to it. So we're just noting that information, but that's not something I can really answer at this time. But you know, that's a hard one to answer. I'd say City Council, this this whole process, as we go through this process and when this goes to city council, that's going to be kind of intertwined with this process and the feedback that council will get from the public and through this. Staff, I can tell you as staff will present the information, but ultimately it will go before council and as a majority vote on what they decide on it. And that's why, like Mayor Sanchez said, how important, I really want to reiterate that the next meeting we have, especially when I'm on one side of the room, to be in this engaged sit down where we can talk and have that personal one-on-one. I want to make sure I give at least a month's notice because I want to advertise it a couple of times. So I was hoping for early December is what I was hoping, but I know it's around the holidays. So I'm really looking at how we can best get it in so that we, that's something we can look into. Yes. I want to make sure we give plenty of notice. Okay. But that's definitely something we want to look at is the timing. I can say I can say it's a lengthy process because we are in the study component. And again, we want to, and it's going to have the next phase if it gets approved by council, design, funding, construction. But because this is the opportunity we have to look at potential improvements at these facilities, that's why we want to, I think, have it be more of a lengthy process so we don't miss anything. And we don't, it's okay. I will say the announcement that was made about the upcoming Parks and Rec Commission. It sounds like there's going to be an item before there that would be touch on the same subject, but globally would be another good forum that that is a city commission that would also be able to report to city council would be another forum for it. But Mary, I know you had a question too. Mhm. I would say it's not, Steve would put it better than I would, but it's not that it's an unsafe, it's just the improvements that are required to these facilities because they're aging facilities. Yes, and when it comes to the programming component, I know I brought this up at the last meeting. Things have been kind of interesting over the last couple of years with COVID, and I know that's no excuse to the past history of some feedback we've been hearing about the facilities, but I think things are being evaluated and changed and looked into. I will say everything does relate to funding. So funding is a component. As I'm not in Parks and Rec and I don't oversee the programming and scheduling, I don't know all the details, but I think again, not that you want to go to another meeting, but Parks and Rec is a great forum. And again, it sounds like this is going to be brought up at the next meeting on the 9th about the importance of programming and the equality of it. So I know that doesn't answer your question, but it's something that can get relayed to Parks and Rec because I believe it is something they're looking at. I, I was gonna say, Patrick, do you mind if we bring you the microphone? We can bring it over to you, so, because we do want to make sure we have this meeting available, the information available online too, so. Thank you.
I can't comment about programming for open gym use and types of programming we're looking into. I have prepared a staff report for my supervisor. That's in the works. We're looking at adding more staff, and we're trying to bring that online as soon as possible. And the timing on that was going to be, there's already programming with high school sports going in the gyms from what I've been told. But during certain other times that we don't have other programming, we are going to be implementing open gym with different activities per night. One night a week, it'll be volleyball. One night, it'll be basketball. One night, it'll be dodgeball and open play. Another night, it might be badminton to give the community, and what was it? And ping pong as well. What we're trying to do is give the entire community, not just certain segments, an opportunity to utilize it at its best and fullest potential, and that is in the works. I can tell you that now. We're trying to program it from 6 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, and possibly when we don't have leagues or other things programmed, maybe a possible day on the weekend, but that is in the works.
So I'm not sure if I should ask you this question of the city, but do you guys have an application set for with the state, the Board of Education, to have these kids do internships to get credit?
That I'm not going to comment on internships or any type of programs. They're all individual between school districts and or colleges. So there isn't a blanket answer I can give you on that because all of them have different requirements. But I know we're receptive to get any types of interns and working with the youth as much as possible.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're trying to go online. I have to, again, work through the chain of command and everything else, but we have proposed costs for it and times, and that is being worked out as we speak now. So I don't know the exact timeline, but I know we can implement it fairly quickly. No, we actually, believe it or not, at different events, we do have different groups come in and volunteer. A lot of the youth come in with, different high schools come in, especially with our holiday events. They come in, we've got, Oceanside High comes in. We have many different events that youth groups do volunteer in with a lot of the different special events. So that is something that is occurring. A lot of times they get types of credit depending on what type of courses they're taking at the different schools. They get, volunteer, they call it community service towards college as well. So these are the things that are currently happening. I'm open to all volunteers. I don't discriminate against anybody, so. Yeah. One of the things I do have to mention about the volunteers, if we have any, except for the schools when they're doing a 2 to 4 hour thing where we sign off because they're a student and they've been vetted. But anytime we have any volunteer, they do have to go through our HR vetting process to make sure that they've gone through with the Department of Justice and that they're of quality and of the highest character. So we don't let, well, we're ready for you. Okay.
I think there's more. We'll steal the microphone away possibly, or, oh, it's a question for Patrick.
How about security down there? What about the security when they have that recreation when they're doing, like she said, credit, but what about the security? Are they gonna have security down there?
We don't hire security. We have OPD and we a lot of times incorporate OPD and we notify them when we are doing things. Unless there is a security threat and we've got an outside agency that is renting or doing a facility use, we may require them to do that. Other than that, we work with our OPD to have a positive response and be in the community. A lot of times they come by, wave in, say hello to whatever activities we're doing in special events.
Do you mind asking the mic? Oh. Publicly advertise it and solicit. Yes, we would do that. So for this study, just like all of our other projects and studies, we do formally. Sure. There was a question. Just to follow up on what she stated, that if we're going to put everything online and have it be publicly bid or advertised. And so for most of our formal projects and formal contracts, those are publicly solicited and open to everyone. And that's what we did for this study as well. We advertise it through our city website that I believe goes through eBid board my understanding of I think it's our cost account uniform act, but eBid board is our form, but we do put that information on our city webpage. It's specifically under how do I bid on a city project? And we make sure that those are on there. So yeah.
Hey, this is relating to the schools. I know it's off topic, but I've been kind of hearing a little bit about this, about the school district possibly closing schools like elementary schools and selling them to developers in order to meet their budget shortfalls. And they're going to, build more homes and try to get kids combined into 2 different elementary schools. So just like what we're doing here, we're kind of showing up at these meetings. I haven't been to a school board meeting, but I think I want to go to hear this kind of, back and forth and then chime in on this stuff. So we can hold them accountable, just like what we're trying to do here. So just something to do to find out when the next school board meeting, and let's plan. And because I know with my kids, they're already like out of school, but just looking at the elementary kids that might be at Del Rio, but they now might have to go to Reynolds or Libby or something like that. But, it might affect some of you guys as far as grandkids right now. I don't have any grandkids yet, but working on it. Okay, that's it.
With that, I will probably let you all go, but I really, really, really hope that I'll see you all when we get to the next phase and we get into the option development, because I'll get to be a little bit more engaged than up here. And I think, Steve's gotten really invested and has seen through all of this, their company, how important these facilities are. And we're really looking forward to getting to the next phase of it. And again, really appreciate your time. So thank you all.